I think we've seen a host of sincere efforts emerge in the past year that aim to make sport, quality sport, more accessible to more kids. Innovation is flowing into this space. The scaling of $5 golf fee programs for kids, pilots by Little League to improve T-ball, safety rating system in Tennessee for youth leagues, crowdfunding for programs in need, equipment sharing arrangements, the expansion of mini pitches, mini soccer pitches in urban spaces, the introduction of loosely supervised game structures wholly run by kids. We'll show you an NBC News story that aired just a week or two ago later this morning that highlights one of the bright light programs out there. You'll hear from some of these trailblazers today. They will challenge you, they will inspire you, and give you ideas that you can take back home. We've seen top-down leadership in this space from the NBA, from the NFL, U.S. Tennis Association, PGA Tour, Major League Baseball, and more have all introduced programs designed to either promote free or loosely structured play or developmentally appropriate play. We're excited to hear from Rob Manfred on what baseball has learned to date with their play ball program. Now the NHL is stepping up. This morning in New York, they're launching a new Declaration of Principles program designed to align the efforts of the entire hockey community around concepts like multi-sport play and access for low-income populations. Bravo. Today, the U.S. Olympic Committee is announcing the development of a national coaching framework, a critical first step in creating coherent and consistent standards around youth coaching. We've seen more national governing bodies push forward with creating the American Development Model frameworks designed to improve their sport delivery systems. We've seen organizers of the LA 2028 Olympics renegotiate for and win $160 million from the IOC to support youth sports in Los Angeles over the next 10 years. One of the big ideas we put on the table in our 2015 report, Sport for All, Play for Life, a playbook to get every kid in the game, was a tech solution, a development of a search marketplace that can connect parents with a full array of sport and recreation opportunities in their communities, a Yelp for sports, if you will. Well, last month, NBC Sports launched such a portal through Sports Engine. It's one reason we're excited to have NBC Sports and Sports Engine with us today as Project Play Summit partners. Together, over the past 4 years, we put the issue of access to sport on the national agenda. We've created some consensus, I would say even more than a bit of consensus, around what good looks like in youth sports. We've organized the thought in this highly disjointed, highly siloed space. We've introduced the term physical literacy into the lexicon and built a movement anchored in the principles of health and inclusion. We've focused stakeholders on the critical need to get it right at 12 and under, at the base, that we can't wait until the teenage years to get kids off the couch without running them into the ground. There's also been some progress on key downstream numbers. As you can see in this chart, the percentage of kids who are completely inactive, no sport activity at all in the previous year, has fallen to just under 18%, according to the latest data from the Sports and Fitness Industry Association. Tom Cove, you're in the room somewhere here. Thank you for helping us get together these numbers. We've also seen a drop in kids who are active to a healthy level, an SFIA measure of kids who are involved in activities that burn a lot of calories. Not a perfect measure, but still very useful. We're seeing slight progress on another key measure, total participation rates in sports. Last year, just over 56% of kids played a team sport at least one time, even if it was just trying ultimate frisbee at a summer camp. That's sports sampling. But we've also seen a drop in individual sports. Less than 3 in 10 kids now ride their bikes, which impacts all sorts of unstructured play opportunities. In the era of hopping on your bike and riding a mile away to a sandlot and making up games with your friends, that's largely a thing of the past. The new reality came through loud and clear in our state of play scans that we conducted with the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation in Southeast Michigan and Western New York. Those reports, released in June, and which you have copies of in your packets, show that playing sports in your neighborhood with friends rarely happens anymore. You can see that erosion in the bottom line on the graph right here. Good. Kids who play team sports on a regular basis. We're not talking about kids specializing in a sport and playing year-round. Being a core participant in the estimation of SFIA could mean playing just a couple of dozen times a year in any form, organized or otherwise. Honestly, I think it's a mild victory the erosion isn't greater, given the competition for kids' attention that digital forms of entertainment now provide. 82% of kids ages 8 to 11 have tablets today. 59% have smartphones. 64% of kids use the internet many times a day. That's up 32% since 2012. And what are they doing? Watching a lot of YouTube. For kids ages 5 to 7, YouTube has tripled in popularity in the last year alone. Today, only 9% of kids mention sports when asked what their favorite weekend activities were. That's down 31% since 2012. This space is changing at the speed of Moore's Law, driven by technology. Rich Luker, one of our speakers today, has research on the implications on the sports industry. We know from his work that kids who play sports are 3 times as likely to become avid fans of a sport. Most boys ages 12 to 13 no longer define themselves as avid fans. The percentage of girls who are is growing, but it's still only at 39%. The sports industry has a pipeline problem. We cannot assume that kids are just going to play sports, then buy sports stuff. We need to try a lot harder to give kids competition experiences they desire, just as video game companies do. Fail to put the child at the center of the experience, fail to make the game accessible to all kids regardless of family resources, and you'll pay a price. U.S. Soccer last year mandated that all affiliated organizations move to a birth year eligibility model, breaking up teams across the country of classmates playing with classmates. No one asked the kids what they want. Minimal efforts have been made to support leagues in Latino communities. Our new editorial director, John Solomon, explored this in stories we published this week. Among kids, regular soccer participation is down 26% since 2011. As you may have read, youth sports is now a $15 billion industry at least. Sean Gregory, who wrote the cover story for Time magazine this week on this topic, is here to help us understand what's inside that economy and where it's headed. But this we already know. Youth sports is separating into sport haves and have-nots based upon whether your family can afford travel ball. And as Dev Patik from SFA puts it, tournications. It's a new word in our lexicon. Today, team sport participation rates among kids from the lowest income homes are half that of kids from upper income homes. Half. The irony is, for all the money flowing into travel ball, it's not in youth sports, it's not actually more professional, it's just more commercial. Most coaches are still not trained in the key competencies of working with kids. And more than a few are like this guy, a parody by comedian Scott Bergen that went viral on YouTube last year. Can we cue it up?
Okay, I want to make, this is our last night. Everyone understand, last game of the season, Aiden, eyes on me. Aiden, eyes on me. I want to make sure you guys remember what our goals are when we step on this field. Jackson with an X, what's one of our goals when we step on this field?
To do your best stick.
Okay, not even close. Blaine with a Y. Blaine's not here. Blaine, did you get over that bloody nose you got? Okay, good. What's one of our goals when we step on this field?
We do our best and try to win.
I like the second half. Nate, you got another one? Rylan, you don't have any other goals. Aiden?
Get out.
Okay, negative, Ghost Rider. All right. Did we learn anything this season?
Yes.
Our goals, no, not even close. Our goals are, listen, our goals are to hit dingers. Everybody better have their eyes on me. Eyes on me, Rylan. Hit dingers. Disgrace the pitcher's family. Make the other players cry and stomp their butts into the ground. Does everyone understand that? Does everybody understand that?
It looks like
Look, fellas, look. There are 2 types of people in this world. There's 2 types of people in this world. There's winners and there's losers. Just so that we're clear, every time we step on this field, our goal is to be a winner. And if your dad has said, oh, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, just as long as you have fun, well, I hate to say it, your dad's a loser. Okay? So let's get our hands in. That team's pretty good, but we are gooder. So let's go gooder on 3. Let's go gooder on 3. Here we go. Hands in. Hands in. Hands in. Come on, talk to your English teacher here. Gooder on 3. 1, 2, 3. Gooder! Go.
Jack. Jack. You're gonna keep
Gooder on 3. Teaching the right lessons there, right? Anyway, raise your hands if there's one of those guys in your town. All right, a little bit higher. Okay. Now keep your hand up if you're that person. Come on, you're among friends. We'll forgive you. The truth is there's actually a little bit of that guy in all of us. We all want to win. We're all competitive, and we sometimes have to tamp it back a little bit. And it's because there's often a scoreboard on site, or it's in our heads on who won the game and who lost. There are social rewards for winning and social punishments for losing. Increasingly, jobs are on the line in this industry as well if you don't win. We need a new scoreboard for sports, one that measures success based on the numbers that count most. How many kids played this year? How many returned? How many sports did they try? How many of their coaches are trained in the key competencies in working with kids? How many kids from our most vulnerable populations have access to this often wonderful institution? Are they receiving equal access to the fields? I understand what we're proposing here. I really do. The culture of sorting winners and losers, I've researched it in my book. I mean, it transcends sports. It really goes back to the social Darwinists and the industrialists of the late 1800s, who elevated the construct of winning as a means of promoting a competitive ethos, of moving our society forward in a manner that supports capitalism. But in youth sports, there is no meritocracy, no level playing field. Winning a game or tournament is usually not a matter of how great a coach you are or even how hard your players tried, but how many early bloomers you were able to aggregate on one roster. There's a time to sort the weak from the strong and even to specialize in one sport. It's just not before age 12, before kids have grown into their bodies, their minds, and their interests. That should be a development zone, a place of mutual investment in all kids, regardless of zip code or ability. It's in our best interest as a society to do this. Our healthcare system needs healthy bodies to control costs, now approaching 1/5 of our GDP. Our politics need citizens who know how to compete fairly and with respect for their opponents. Our communities need parks and public spaces where people can gather, sweat, and get to know each other. Done well, youth sport can lay the groundwork for the good society, which is something we talk about a lot at the Aspen Institute, and I imagine is a value of yours as well. But we're not going to get there merely with a statement of opportunity, and we're certainly not going to get there by trying to turn back the clock. Let's be honest, we had nutty sports dads in the 1970s as well, and sport wasn't all that accessible to girls and disabled kids. But we need to take a business-like approach to driving success. Today, that means starting with data, baselines, metrics, key performance indicators, or maybe we should call them key play indicators. In your event programs and signage, we have surrounded you today with numbers that will help you think about which ones belong on the new scoreboard for sports that we propose. I encourage you to capture and elevate data in your own sectors that can help your leaders focus on what really counts. Create shared measurements to track progress and identify potential interventions. You can do this at the community level as well. If you're sticking around for tomorrow's workshop on how to mobilize local leaders, we'll give you some practical tools on how to do that. Allow data to transform the approach to the delivery of youth sports, just as big data has transformed decision-making in transportation, retail, even professional sports. There's a good reason the infield shift in baseball, why it's stuck around. It works, and that's based upon, data analyses. We've also surrounded you today with the faces of children, the imagery. because we should never forget that we are here to serve them, all of them, not just the ones we are most directly are raising. If you're a for-profit operator, please, by all means, make money in this burgeoning space, this $15 billion, probably more, space that's as large or larger than football or college football or any of our professional sports. Just try to do so with the filters of health and inclusion, the core values of Project Play, which is all about building healthy communities through sports. It's what every kid in this country deserves, and it's what we owe ourselves. Okay, we good? We gooder? Okay, hands in on 3. Gooder? Come on, hands in. Hands in. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Gooder. All right, excellent, terrific.